This episode is brought to you by Radio Mastery. Radio Mastery helps radio hosts and professionals to dominate their market to reach number one. Apply today at radiomastery.com.au, and joining us is radio consultant and coach Peter Samios. Welcome back to the show.
Well, what a big day. Big day. This has been 20 years in the making. If you're not Kyle and Jackie O, or anyone that's worked with Kyle and Jackie O, you've been waiting for this day to come for a bloody long time. So huge day for Sydney radio especially.
Well, let's start off with Sydney now. All eyes were on Kiss 1065, and if they could retain that number one brekkie slot, but it doesn't look like they have. What are your thoughts on the Sydney market?
Yeah, well, they're down quite a bit. Look, they're down further than what I thought. I predicted they'd be in the nines. They lost 3.5. They're down to 8.2 at breakfast. That's bigger than I thought. And look, it brings back the nightmares of Today FM when Kyle and Jackie O jumped ship. They hung in there for, I think it was 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 surveys or something, but it was a downward spiral. Now, this is what was expected. I think ARN, the management, Dave Cameron, everyone, they're all well equipped. They know that this is part of the turbulence that's ahead, but it's not going to get back up to that level. And my opinion is, unless Kiss 1065 can get Chris Fade at breakfast, then, as I call it, Chris 1065, they need to do that. If they can't secure him as talent, I don't think there's anyone strong enough to really rebuild that audience. You need someone to not just fill where Kyle and Jackie O left off. You need someone to excel on where they left off from, and to not just get into the 11s and the 12s, but even push the 13s, 14s, really take that breakfast slot on Kiss to the next level. But yeah, that's big news for Kiss breakfast in Sydney.
Massive news for Kiss. And also, let's just jump over to Gold really quick. Now, Christian, both of us were saying that we thought this was going to be a bloodbath for Gold and Kiss, but surprisingly, Gold 1017 stayed stable on a 9.6 share, jumping up 2 points. Breakfast was a 7.2. And I got to say, Jonesy and Amanda, I take my hat off to them. 12.2 drive. What an outstanding result for Gold.
A great segue into what I was about to say. If I was ARN, I'd be throwing everything at Jonesy and Amanda. They are carrying 101.7. They have delivered above and beyond for that station. I've said it publicly before. If there's anything just as loyal as a Kyle and Jackie O listener, it's a Jonesy and Amanda fan, because they will follow them through thick and thin. They are so by their side. So it really shows. Their breakfast numbers have moved across to drive. Well done to Jonesy and Amanda, specifically to them, for bringing them across. In terms of Christian, look, it's on the record that I said that show would not work in Sydney. Look, early days, let's see how we go. I might have to eat my words, but I just want to see how we're going. They're still not at that level where Jonesy and Amanda were, around the 8s and 9s. So let's see how Christian goes. He is a great talent. If there's anyone to be given that task, the ARN have definitely got the right man in there. So look, it's good news for Gold. Better news for Gold than for Kiss. So I'd definitely be hitting the market, really throwing the Gold network down people's throats. But look, the real winner, in my opinion, for Sydney has to be Nova. It looks like the chunk of the KJ listeners have gone 2 or 3 ways, in my opinion. I think that they've either gone, the younger listeners have defaulted over to Nova, being the Pepsi to the Coke, or the older listeners have jumped over to Christian O'Connell, or even some older listeners have even jumped to 2UE, which has done phenomenally well today. I think they've gone, 2.7 up to 4.2. So they've overall, they've jumped quite a bit there. And look, breakfast has only seen a 1% rise, but still, I think that's good, really good news for 2UE. Hopefully, 2UE might be, they've got a long way to go, but it'd be great to see 2UE be like that mini powerhouse that 4BH is in Brisbane.
And what do you think? I know we just touched on Nova briefly. What do you think happened with Today FM? We both thought that, or I personally thought that there could be a rise there from the KJ audience coming over. What happened over there? Do you think that they're just the format hasn't worked out?
Yeah, it's unfortunately not the right. It's not the right. What's the word I'm thinking? first thing that comes to mind is they've missed the mark in terms of their aggression in market. I've seen a lot more "Don't Think Just Nova" ads than I've seen Better Music and more of it ads for Today FM. So Nova have clearly won in terms of getting their name out there at the right time. Today FM, the music format, yeah, great option there. I did a post saying how I feel that they've got the strongest music positioner in Sydney because they're the station for everyone under that format. But in terms of winning the XKJ followers, Today FM, look, if you are a KISS competitor in Sydney and you can't even grab an audience with the KISS breakfast show not on air, well, you've got bigger problems. The fact that Nova have gained an audience shows that, hey, take KISS out of the market, take KJ out of the market, you've got your alternative, and well done to Nova for winning them over. Today, I mean, that's really, they've got to look a lot deeper than just the music. I really think they need to invest even heavier on talent and put the right people in the right roles. But it could be a sign of too little too late. I mean, you know, you've got Sydney siders, especially the KJP ones. They are headless chooks right now. They are jumping the dial left, right, and centre, going anywhere. They'll go to 2GB. They'll go to Nova. They'll go to Christian O'Connell. But why aren't they going to Today FM? Isn't, you know, the majority of KISS 106.5 KJ listeners would have been ex-Today FM listeners. Why wouldn't they come home to Today FM now? Welcome back. We're the station that you left when you jumped ship to 106.5. So I think the first thing for Today FM is they need to really belt down on their marketing, invest in strong talent, really amplify their message about their music positioning, because they have jumped around quite a bit. If you go and talk to the average punter on the street, hey, what music does Today FM play? Well, I don't know. Is it more music, more variety? Is it Today AF? Is it Better Music and more of it? Or is that WSFM's positioner? I mean, it's very confusing. So they really need to pick a direction and just turn up the volume and go nuts on it.
Absolutely. It's been a very sad day for Southern Cross Media Group. I saw that about 300 jobs had been axed. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. The station I was at in Dubbo, we had 12 members there, and we were live and local from 6 a.m. till 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. Now it's just 6 till 9, and it's networked from 9 a.m. We were the most local commercial station for, I don't know, for like, I think almost up to the Northern Rivers or something. It was phenomenal, the localism we had in Dubbo with SCA. Those days have sadly gone, and the sad part is with all these amalgamations and takeovers and everything, I mean, you don't need to double up. If you can sell television, you can sell radio, you can sell digital. If you can do production, or if you can do social media for television, or you can do social media for radio. As ARM's been repositioning themselves as an entertainment company, well, so too will Seven West Media, or whatever it's called, Southern Cross Media. Same with them. They're an entertainment company, so you don't need so much on the back end, because you're essentially producing the same on the front end. I just really hope, I mean, I'm a bit biased being on the content side. I really hope we don't see job losses in terms of regional content, especially, because that is the heartland of future in radio. If you're looking for future talent, if you're looking to cut your teeth, it's the natural progression. You start at a metro community station, you get your first commercial gig on a regional radio station, either a super network station, an ARN station, or an SCA station, and then you make your way to provincial and then to metro. But you can't do that if they're just going to swing the axe, and if it's going to be Nathan Emma across New South Wales or Fifi, Fev and Dave across Victoria. I mean, where's the breeding ground going? It's like the one-child policy. You're not going to grow your population. Your population will go backwards in the industry. So I really hope that we don't see that, and especially for regional. I know they'll probably favour a lot of the metros, and they'll keep that because that's where all the money's coming from. But please, save the regional jobs, please.
And before we move on to Melbourne, I just want to touch on one last thing. In Breakfast in Cume, there was minus 87,000 listeners in total. Do you think that those listeners have turned their radio off for good because of the departure of Kyle and Jackie O?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's definitely less in the market. They've gone. I get a lot of messages on. Believe it or not, I'm a bit of a TikTok thing. I think I get a lot of comments on my posts, especially if I talk about Kyle and Jackie O, and many of which have said I haven't listened to the radio since they've left, or I'm now listening to the best bits. So I'm going through the archives. So I'm on. The iHeart listenership's probably gone up a bit because people are probably just trying to download the old podcasts. So I think that it's really sad, that Kyle and Jackie O were a huge credit to the Australian radio industry. They were the Australian radio industry, especially in Sydney's last hope of holding on to a strong audience away from your Spotify's and everything. Now that they've gone, well, people's listening habits have had to change, and it's a massive shock to the system. It's like when Alan's Lollies stops making your favorite lolly. Like you don't know where to go. Your job is your purpose in life is lost. What are you going to go to school? What are you going to talk about around the water bubbler?
Yeah,
You can't talk about, hey, did you listen to KJ this morning? How fun? No.
exactly,
So
exactly.
it's really sad. People have left the industry. Listeners have left the industry, which is going to have a huge knock-on effect, all because of Kyle and Jackie O leaving. So let's hope something can be done. And the only thing that I think that can be done is if they're not going to return, we need to invest in better Aussie talent to get in and fill their spot.
And before, so actually, no, we'll touch on Melbourne now. I have two personal winners, or two winners that I think are really the winners in Melbourne. For me, it's Triple M and SEN. I think SEN shocked everyone with that result today. In breakfast, jumping up to a 6.0. Just what do you make of that?
Yeah, we're in AFL season. It's great news. Well done to the team there. They've stuck it out. If there's ever any market that's going to do a really bloody good sports station, it's Melbourne. And if Melbourne can't do a sports station well, no one can. Sydney is not a sports market, in my opinion. So, and Brisbane especially. That's why SENQ, that's why SEN 1170, they'll never take off. They'll never kick off. It was actually, in my opinion, it was a waste to have them on the frequency. They should just be a digital-only offering. Have podcasts, which they do really well podcast-wise. They've got some great talent, mind you, 1170 and SENQ as well. But in Melbourne, they've been there for so long, and you always do see traditionally this spike happen around AFL time. So who knows? Come post AFL. I'd love to see them hang on. It's always been that it's a very seasonal station, in my opinion, with SEN. But in saying that, absolute credit where credit's due. They've worked long and hard for it. And SEN Melbourne is rating higher than KISS 1011. Who'd have thought that?
Oh, poor
So,
Kiss Brecky, poor Kiss Brecky.
yeah, I mean, and in saying that, and just across, the KISS Sydney Melbourne, when do you stop saying number one hit music station? That's what
Exactly,
I want to know.
exactly. I was listening to Kiss 106.5 yesterday, or even this morning before the survey came out, and I was saying to myself, that'll be the last time we're hearing we're your number one breakfast show.
Yeah, really sad, really sad. It is an end of an era for that KISS station. Sadly for KISS itself, especially in Sydney, sorry to jump back there for a moment,
No
they've
worries.
never really had to deal with not being number one.
Exactly. I would like to predict. I would love to even just think of how many advertisers would have flooded away by now.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely got to pivot, and let's hope that they do make that choice soon, because whatever happens with Sydney, Melbourne, and look, getting back to Melbourne as well, same situation. The listeners don't know what KISS 1011 is. I mean, it's been that many different type of changes and stations and everything. What is KISS 1011? So people don't know, and people are a bit confused. So look, same with Melbourne. I would immediately be getting Chrissy Swan straight up there. I'd be getting, all the usual Melbourneites. There's been rumours of Will and Woody. I don't think Will and Woody are the right fit for breakfast. But I'd definitely be going down that path of getting a dedicated Melbourne show on straight away. Don't worry about Sydney. I think Mikey is very Sydney centric, so he can really amplify his message if he stays in Sydney. But I definitely would get that Melbourne show on straight away.
And moving on to like, there's not much else I really want to talk about in Melbourne. Sure, we had some drops around in Nova and in Gold, but in Brisbane, for me, Kiss 97.3. I know I mentioned that to you before, and you said that yeah, Kiss Brisbane tends to go everywhere, and that does make sense. But do you think that the station will keep dropping?
Oh, look, Brisbane bounces around. I wouldn't be blinking if I were anyone in the Brisbane market right now. The real success story, not just for Brisbane, but I think around the country, is Nova. Brisbane leads by example, but you saw Sydney get the increase with Nova. Melbourne, unfortunately, dropped back a bit, but definitely in Brisbane. I mean, look, I thought this was going to be a trend with the brekkie shows. They've bounced back. They've done absolutely phenomenal. It's great to see Nova 106.9 get back into the mix of it. They've found their groove again. So, look, definitely a big winner there. 4BH, it's just got to be accepted. 4BH is a serious contender now in the Brisbane market. There's no ifs or buts about it. You've got to take that station seriously. They are the new 4KQ. They've absolutely done it. But for Brisbane, definite winner is Nova. And look, in terms of Kiss Brisbane, I don't think there's any drama there. They're still miles ahead than where they would have been had they put Lowy at breakfast.
Yeah.
So yeah, credit there, and I'm sure that'll just bump up and down as surveys come around.
And I gotta say, I think 4BH is probably one of the, I think I've said it before, probably one of the most low cost stations. They've got people networked from all around the country. They've got no studio. It's all home set up. I gotta say, that is a very, very interesting station.
Yeah, and like I said in previous podcasts, it's not the tools, it's the carpenter. You invest in good talent and just let them do their thing. You don't need to be doing whiz bang studios. And look, obviously, it's got its pros and cons. It'd be nice to be a bit more interactive. And to be honest, I haven't listened. I don't know if they can take callers as well when you voice track from home. So, who knows how interactive it is. I know they've got their text line and they do a lot of SMS things and online comps and everything. But, good luck to them. They can make it work and they can prove that it's successful. So it's essentially a marketing strategy for Ace Radio, and they've done a phenomenal job around the country. I'd like to see 3MP and Magic do a little bit better, though. I think there's so much potential with those two stations. I've mentioned it in the past. How do you solve a problem like them? But, surely they've got to hit the nail on the head at some point in time. And who knows what they can do with those two stations. But definitely it's working in Brisbane with Ace. And, yeah, I'd love to see it roll out around the country, whatever the fairy dust is they're doing.
And what would you say, as a consultant, is the solution to fix 4BC's problem, the continual drop?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first thing they've done is I'm very grateful that the Laundy family have it and not any other parties. I won't name names because they're keeping it local. You've just got to do that. They've got a new, I don't know what the role they've given them, content officer, general manager. I think they've now got a station manager there. I think it
Yes,
was.
yes,
I
yeah,
think that's the position.
yes.
So they're investing in localism, and I think that's the only way forward because people are still getting over the nine. The 2BC, whatever it was, when, sorry, what am I saying? 4GB, that's the word I'm thinking. When it was all networked, that was really bad for the 4BC market when essentially you just had, I think at one point, one shift that was local from Brisbane. It was a ghost town there. So, look, they need to keep focusing on localism. I do feel that Brisbane does have room for a commercial talk station. I feel every market in the country, even Canberra, I know 2CC does bad at times, but there's always room for a commercial AM talk station, at least one in every market. So you just got to make it work and keep writing it out. Don't add music to the mix. That was a mistake. Adding a few classic hits because you had Laurel, Gary and Mark. I don't know if that was a good move, putting them on that station. I could see what they were trying to achieve. But, just because Kyle and Jackie O left doesn't mean 2GB needs to grab them. It doesn't work that way. You've got to do your market research.
Exactly. Moving over to Adelaide, there's not too much I want to touch on here. Of course, we have Kiss 102.3 finally re-emerging. I think this is most likely because of Ben and Liam's return. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a double-ended sword. Two reasons why they've done well. Their music format is phenomenal. Always been phenomenal. Credits to ARN for keeping that variety there and in Brisbane. But also the success of Ben and Liam. I think I've said in the past that they may struggle because of the music format. I do hope that they can really take on Triple M Adelaide. They are absolutely surging ahead. But I would love to see Ben and Liam do a little bit better over the coming surveys. I hope they haven't peaked too early. But they're a great talent. They, to me, are the disruptors that every market needs. If you've got Ben and Liam as one of your competitors, you better be ready to get out of the studio and onto the streets, because these guys are not afraid to get their names out there. They're very hungry to win. In Adelaide, though, it's unfortunate. I think SAFM have dipped back a bit. I'd love to see something happen there. Maybe a few of them have jumped across. I don't know, but yeah, I think that SAFM breakfast is a bit of a focus point there. But yeah, the real winner is obviously Triple M Adelaide surging ahead, and also for ARN. Good on them.
And what do you think happens also at ARN for Cruise 1323? Soon, apparently, to be Gold 1323. But when you've got no local announcers, you got Bilko doing it from the Sunshine Coast, you got the breakfast show from Melbourne. What do you think happens to a station like that? Would you say it's a similar situation to Magic and 3MP?
It's interesting because they're networked out of it, and they're point 0.1 ahead of 5AA, which is as local as always Adelaide. So it's I don't know what you do with Cruise. I've said this in the previous podcast. You've got to network, just network really good, really well produced stuff. I don't know why they are shying away from rebranding as Gold. I don't know why they are shying away from not putting Christian on breakfast. If you're going to have Craig do it from Melbourne, you might as well have Christian do it from Melbourne as well, and have some content, have some callers, have that true national footprint. I don't know what they're waiting for. They're just waiting to pull the trigger at some point. And yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But if it was me, I'd immediately do Gold 1323. The fact that KISS 1023 has been well accepted, you don't need to have a Gold on FM, so that's fine, that's clear. But I don't know, and even the logo, are they waiting to sell it? I don't know. But just something's got to happen. It's very odd to have that outlier when you've got the Gold network and you've had everything. Even the Heritage 96 FM got renamed, and
Yeah.
why is Cruise so immune from all this? So something's up. So watch this space. I'm sure ARN have got some plans there.
I thought I was about 99% sure that they were gonna rebrand it when they rebranded Mix 1023, when they rebranded 96 FM. I thought that would have been the perfect time to do it, but apparently I think
It,
yeah.
it could be a budget thing as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
They did just rebrand KISS, and you probably don't want to disrupt the market too much with too many new names and new faces and new sounds. So who knows? Maybe it might be a 2027 thing. Who knows?
And moving on to the last market, unless you want to touch on DAB, but as you've said before, dead and buried.
Yeah, I'll just wrap it up. Cater's probably doing well, and something like that, Coles Radio or whatever.
Exactly.
There's a DAB update.
And we're looking at 6IX first of all. Goodness gracious me, minus 0.9. As we said last time, 6IX just has that problem. It's not. Sorry, what were your words for it?
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh no, we were. Oh, I forget what we were saying now. It was something about they're just not that competitive.
Yeah, it's really interesting that station, because you've got Capital Radio, which has mainly got your regional, provincial stations, and here they are running a major metro station, and yeah, I don't know why it's not going well. I mean, I think the music could be skewed a little bit younger. I think that Gold 96 is now a lot more of a threat for 6IX, and they do deliver a much better product on Gold, sorry to say, to the IX hard workers there. But it's just, I don't know. I really don't. But then again, you remember back in the day, it might have been a little bit before your time, but 2CH, they weren't ever really doing phenomenally well. They were always stable and steady and always there in the background. They could never get the numbers of the AM talk stations. They could never get the numbers of the FM talk stations. So I don't know. For 6IX, I think they just need a lot more marketing behind them, because there is room definitely for that golden oldies forever classic music format, but people just need to know about it.
And if we look at where is it? Afternoons with Clarzy, 0.5, so that obviously has not brought any listeners over from the 96 FM name.
Yeah, look, Clarsy, and I want to use this as an opportunity to touch on this long weekend that's launching tomorrow on the Gold Network. You're not going to see an impact on the ratings with a lunchtime 1 hour thing. Similar thing with Ace Radio. They have Gavin Miller doing Classic Lunch. Yeah, he's a great talent. He was rating very well on Gold, and put him across on Magic, and you don't see the same results there. You can't just rely on a 1 hour thing, or for the long weekend, you can't rely on a Friday afternoon thing. You need to really have an extended, established, traditional time slot for someone to do that. And as I said now in our last catch up, I think Clarsy, put him on at breakfast, different story. Run with that headline, great. Even if it was to voice track, like a barbecue Bob type thing, great. I think that would be an opportunity there for 6IX, because then you'd really start having a message that people would want to listen to.
And there's not too much else I want to touch on. We'll go to ARN with Gold 96 FM. Before we touch on breakfast, I just want to say, what the hell happened with Will and Woody in the evening? Minus 2.2.
Who's listening?
It's.
It's
I agree with what you said last time. It was definitely just something from marketing, sales or
yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be too concerned with that. Look, Perth really just bounces around. I think that the real powerhouse there has got to be the Nova.
Yes.
They can do what they want. They can call it Nathan, Matt, and Sean, or whoever, call it whatever, and have whoever. No one cares who's on air. No one cares what the name's called. They're just stuck on that dial. It's phenomenal. Uh, the real winner for me is, I think, good to see Mix back in the mix. Pardon the pun there. But it's good to see them really getting back to where they should be in terms of their positioning. I think they've de-hitified themselves quite a bit, which is great. I think they're playing a lot more 80s. I think they had the 70s track sneak in. I might be wrong. But good on Mix for getting back into that, because it's clearly what the market needs. I think Mix could cater for the older female skewed audience. Gold 96 could cater for the older male audience. You've got Triple M giving that alternate, younger, male skewed opportunity there. And Nova in Perth, they just own the pop. They own the biggest shows, the best pop music. They are what the Kiss 106.5 was for Sydney is Nova Perth. So absolute well done to them. And it'd be great if we could see a bit of that magic eventuate onto Nova in Sydney. And I think this is what we're going to see over coming surveys. I think the real winner here is going to be Nova 96.9. This will mark the resurgence of that. They've got, yes, it's a new breakfast show, but let's call a spade a spade. People know Tim. They know Ricky Lee. They know what they're going to get when they listen to that duo, because they've been established as a really strong drive show. So I think Nova Sydney is really going to be the next big thing on Sydney FM radio. So well done to the team there. And I really hope Today FM could just somehow disrupt it. I think every market needs a Perth's real alternative. Every market needs a sounds different. Every market needs, radio is getting so vanilla now with no Kyle and Jackie O in the market. Now is the opportunity that all the programmers, all the marketers, all the head hot shows need to really just, what can we do to stand above the rest? Because it's anyone's game. Go for it. On your marks, get set. The fire gun's already gone from the day that Kyle wrapped up with Brooklyn. So you've really got to just, everyone just needs to put their heads down and make great radio now.
And one last thing I want to touch on. I want to get your thoughts on the long weekend. I know we briefly touched on it before. Do you think that this starting off as a once a week Friday 3 hour show could branch off into something bigger?
No. This is purely a commercial thing. This is purely a SCA, 7 West. What are we going to do to, we've got 9 talent. Oh, let's, this could be the start of more 9 talent popping up on ARN. The other thing is as well, with Eddie Maguire, it's interesting because don't forget, ARN wanted to buy Triple M, get rid of the Hit Network. They really wanted to have the Triple M network, and Eddie is Triple M. It's going to be a very Triple M sounding show. Maybe this is ARN's way of saying, well, if we can't buy them, let's turn into them. I don't know how all this talk is going to go on the Gold Network. You've got to watch it. Yeah, you ruffled some feathers by touching Jonesy and Amanda, and now you're going to do it again by putting more talk on a Friday. This is going to be falling into smooth slack. So I don't know if it's going to be a good thing on a Friday. But as I said a moment ago, it is only one day a week. I don't think we'll see results. We won't see any reflection of the show on in terms of ratings. They'll obviously be talking about their digital numbers, their streaming numbers, their social interactions. I can't see it rolling out. You know, people are saying, "Oh, is audition for something longer and bigger." Maybe for Eddie Maguire, but for Carl, I think, how do you go from national TV to a once a week afternoon or just a radio drive gig? I think he's still got a lot in him in the TV tank before he fully commits to radio. So for Carl, it'd simply just be, let's come in, let's smash it out, let's get some money on the side, and let's get back to television. So that's how I can see that really playing out. It could be just a bit of a schmooze fest to show ARN, hey, listen, we're open to negotiating with you nine, you know, be our best friend, and in return, we'll throw a show on with some of your talent. So, yeah, and an interesting choice as well, very nine-ified. I don't know why you need Carl and Eddie. Why? You know, one of them on their own would be phenomenal, but the two of them together, wow. And why? That's I just want to know why. What's the point of that show? What would they talk about? Would they talk about blokes and beers? Would they talk about Barnsley? Would they talk about ABBA? Would they talk about the good old days?
Yeah, sport. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Is it going to be a very sport heavy one? Is it going to be news and sport? Will Carl handle the news, and Eddie talk about the
Yeah.
sports wrap, and being a national show as well? I mean, how are they going to get the balance right in such a small space of time? And, you know, will we still cater for those music lovers? Is it going to be 2 songs and then a talk break? And who knows? But it's going to be very heavily sounding by having Tony there and yeah, anchoring it, and then got Georgia, as you mentioned in your catch up yesterday, doing the news. So they're investing a lot in it for a few hours a week. Interesting.
It's very odd, and look, I had an idea that because Alex Cullen, he suddenly departed from the show. What do you think could be happening there? Do you think that this could be a more sport focused show to cater for that loss of Alex Cullen?
Yeah, 2 things about the Alex thing. I've got a bit of people won't like me saying it, but a bit of a theory that there's been a bit of turnover with the Christian show in the background. You know, you had Jack leave. You had that new reception guy that jumped on to do something. I don't know where he's ended up or if he's still on or not. Now, in terms of, so I'm just wondering there, that's part one, is why do people tend to leave eventually? In terms of Alex as well, but the real reason, this is my second theory on Alex, is he's with Network 7, isn't he? And
Yes.
why would you want Network 7, which is Southern Cross, to be on ARN? But I don't know if there's anything in that, because don't forget Jack Post, he was there. He was with Listener doing the Hamish and Andy podcast whilst he was anchoring for Christian on ARN. So, you know, they obviously don't have an issue with that crossover. But yeah, I don't know why Alex didn't quite make it. If anything, I would have loved to have seen this as an opportunity to put Alex on the long weekend with Carl. I mean, they would have great banter together. Plus, you wouldn't have 2 dominant personalities. Don't forget, Eddie and Carl are both of the same breed. They are really people, like really great, strong personalities. But putting those 2 strong ones together, I think you might need a bit of a softer like a Batman and a Robin. You don't want Batman and Superman to host a show together. That's essentially what you've got with a long weekend. You need a Batman and a Robin. So, you know, I think Alex would have been a better fit to be there with Carl. And, you know, I believe they have that chemistry anyway that they could have gone with. But that's my thought.
Interesting to hear there. Well, thank you so much, Peter. And do you have any major predictions for Survey 4?
Nova 96.9. watch this space. They are the ones that they've done the right thing. If I was a teacher, they would have got full marks for how they've executed everything. They look. Don't think just Nova. Not my cup of tea. But in terms of actually being present in the market, well done to them. In terms of having the biggest shows, the best pop music, the biggest prizes, they've ticked all of the above. So Radio 101, Nova wins, and I believe Nova's the one to watch. This will be the upward trend of Nova, and unfortunately the downward trend of Kiss. You've heard Dave Cameron say this is a work in progress. You know, they're really thinking long and hard before they make any knee-jerk moves, which is a very smart move in my opinion. But just don't make it go for too long, because the longer you go, the more established these people are going to get in their new listening habits. Every minute that goes by that they're not listening to a breakfast show on Kiss is another minute listened to on either Gold, which is good for them, or Nova. And you can see today, based on the results, it looks like Nova's going to get the cut of the pie from the old Kiss listeners.
Interesting to note there. Well, thank you so much, Peter. And you can check out Radio Mastery at radiomastery.com.au. We'll catch you for Servo 4.
Amazing. Looking forward to it, Max.
Thank you.